Shalom to everybody. This is Tanira Joshua Belevi, or Rabbi Joshua Belevi, your virtual rabbi. And on this short video clip, I would like to reply to a question made to me by one of my followers, my YouTube followers, and also some listeners of Radio Israel of Puerto Rico. And this follower makes the following question. He says, Rabbi, is Judaism God's very own religion? And my plain answer to this question is no. Judaism is not God's religion. Judaism as it currently stands is, for the most part, a theology-oriented religion, one in which the person is basically judged by his or her standpoint on secondary theological issues. A good example of this is Judaism's view concerning Jesus. Normative Judaism tells its followers that no Jew can believe anything Jesus said or did, regardless of its implicit moral or ethical value. On the other hand, God's religion is not a theology-oriented, but rather an actions-oriented religion. In other words, God's religion isn't an idea in our minds, but an attitude in our hearts. This attitude is the result of a self-evident truth, that we should do unto others the same good we would wish for ourselves, that we should treat others with the same consideration, love, and mercy we would like for ourselves. God's religion was plainly manifested during His work of creation. For a whole full week, God played Himself the role of a religious model, the religious model He intended us to follow. Again, it goes without saying that there's no safer path than following God's own example. Here are a few of the things that God taught us. Number one, He planted a tree of life, teaching us that our life is like a fruit-yielding tree. Number two, He did only good, except on the second day when He, so to speak, created division. Number three, He only gave life, never took it away. Number four, He taught humans that they had been created in God's image. Number five, He was generous, providing His creatures with food and all they needed. Number six, as their Father and Creator, God expected from Adam and Eve both respect as well as obedience. Number seven, He was loving and merciful, demanding little, very little, from Adam and Eve, and clothing them after they had sinned, instead of giving them the death He had foretold. Number eight, God just said the words, and it was immediately done. And number nine, after God was done doing good, He entered into a godly rest. The former is basically all the religion any Jew will ever need. Let's take a look at the meaning of it all. Let's see what can we learn from each of the former remarks. Number one, the first one, we learn that in the eyes of God, we are like trees. He wants us to yield good fruit, morally speaking, of course. Number two, that God wants us to do good all the days of our lives and stay away from division and strife. Number three, that God wants us to respect and value life as sacred. Number four, that God wants us to be like Him, to imitate the values and morals that He Himself follows. Number five, that God wants us to be generous to His creatures, in other words, to mankind. Just like He gave food to Adam and Eve, so does He expect us to feed the hungry. Number six, that God expects us to respect and obey our parents. Number seven, that God wants us to be loving and merciful, demanding little from our fellow human beings, clothing their nakedness, physical, emotional, and spiritual, and being merciful to them, forgiving their offenses against us. Number eight, God wants us to back up our words with concrete and tangible actions. Number nine, and last but not least, if we do good, if we follow God's example, at the end of our days, in other words, at the end of our lives, we will be able to achieve completion and enter into a godly spiritual rest, so to speak. The former statements are consistent with what from time immemorial has been called ethical monotheism. Please bear in mind that truth is truth, no matter who says it or where it is to be found. Any Jewish, Muslim, or Christian congregation embracing the tenets of ethical monotheism is indeed practicing God's religion, as truth is truth. Again, no matter who says it or where is it to be found. I hope these words will sort of answer your questions, and as always, what I just said is only my humble opinion. It doesn't necessarily express the formal view of any movement or any branch of the normative Judaism movement. Shalom Aleichem.